Hello, everyone. My name is Magda Birecka. I'm from Poland. This is my notes because I don't have any presentation. As you can see, I'm from radio. I'm deputy editor-in-chief of Tok FM Radio from Warsaw, from Poland. And I'm responsible for running our online department, which in this case online means Tok FM PL, which consists of articles, videos, and last but not least, podcasts. But it wasn't me who introduced podcasts to Tok FM. Quick note, when I speak, behind me you will see the covers of our podcasts, just randomly. But to start the story of our monetization project, I will need to tell you something about Tok FM itself. Tok FM now is the largest independent news radio station in Poland. As Info Radio, it began broadcasting in 1998. Maybe you remember that time. It was the time when we were mostly offline. There were no smartphones. There were even no Facebook. And the same year, 1998, is the year when the Google was founded. So it was quite a long time ago. And at the time, Tok FM was something brand new. Hardly any music, lots of news and hours of broadcasts with interviews, discussions, opinions on various topics like politics, economy, social issues, world events, culture, sports, etc., etc. And it was really fresh at that time, inspiring and unique. But these were strengths, but there were weaknesses also, because radio as a medium is very personal and some say magical, but also fleeting. Everything what was broadcast disappeared immediately. If you wanted to listen to everything, you had to be glued to your radio receiver. So from the very first year of existing of Tok FM, some broadcasts were cut and published on the website, so as listeners could find them or know them, maybe. But it wasn't a system, it wasn't a systematic process. It was from time to time. But there were this feeling on the team that this broadcast should be archived somehow. And there were many key moments in the history of Tok FM, and one of them, those moments happened in 2014, when the decision was made to archive all radio broadcasts. And it was decided to edit it, cut into pieces, publish them in the mobile app, and start selling them. These audio pieces in that time was introduced as podcast because it was audio on demand, but today I will call them catch-ups, because in fact these are audio pieces which were already broadcasted on the air. So that was the moment when Tok FM Premium, the product about Kuba was saying about it, was introduced, and it worked very well, so well that in 2016 and 2017 online subscription revenues exceeded online ad revenues. So that was the moment when the decision was made to do something more about Tok FM Premium and subscriptions. So 5 years ago, a new app was launched, the website was refreshed, a team was formed, and the big strategy has been written. And of course, the goal was set, an ambitious one, to gain 30,000 subscribers by the end of 2022. As you already know, it was achieved. But meanwhile, podcasts started to gain traction in Poland. There were more and more podcasters, and more people were looking for podcasts and wanted to listen to them. So there were some challenges because podcasters were looking for opportunities to monetizing their work. As Talk FM, we were also looking for inspiration, so we were listening a lot, mostly in English, and in those British, American, Canadian podcasts, we were hearing about sponsorships, commercial partners, and all these different kinds of advertisement. And we were wondering if there is something we can come into. So we started to looking for a second way of monetization, different from subscriptions, and maybe complementary to it. And in fact, we found one, and for 5 years we are developing this way also. And we developed many different forms of commercial activities. So as you can see, there are two ways of monetizations of podcasts we were exploring at Talk FM. And both of them surprised us in various moments and need to be developed separately, which doesn't mean that they do not cross sometimes. And we know already that these ways are not the only ones. Well, how does it work with subscriptions in Talk FM nowadays? Well, it is a much more extensive project than it was just a few years ago. In the very beginning, there was a radio archive of broadcasts, which was getting bigger and bigger as time passed. Because as we deliver 19 hours of fresh broadcast daily from Monday to Friday, and 17 hours daily on weekends, there are literally tens of thousands of catch-ups today in our archive. Each huge collection of interviews, discussions, guides, whatever, and it's really hard to find a subject which wasn't covered yet in at least one broadcast. Later on, we started to think about some services which could make listening to our catch-ups easier and more comfortable. So first of all, we promised our subscribers to remove ads, which they hear in Radio Live. We also added some options to our mobile application. For example, possibility of creating personal playlist, to listening to podcast offline, or just search engine to find interesting one. And there is also something really special, however not connected to podcast. It's ad-free radio, available only in streaming. This is the same radio as FM radio, but the commercial spots was removed, and there is music in this place. But above all, and especially for me, because this is my job, we started publishing actual podcasts. So podcasts that you can't hear on the radio. So today, Talk FM Premium is much more than radio archives itself. We were adding all these bricks after consulting our audience in multiple surveys, and of course not at once. It was also very important to inform that something new was introduced. There is new optional premiere of something new for them. According to study from 2021, 1 in 3 internet users in Poland listens to podcasts, and this number is still increasing. Moreover, every year listeners spend more and more time on listening to podcasts, and 1 in 5 listeners turns on podcasts at least once a week. That sounds great, and it's great news for someone who produces podcasts, but all this means that the podcasting market in Poland is getting more and more competitive. Most of big media have their own podcasts, as well as independent podcasters gather audience which is greater and greater. So we know that there's a challenge because there is huge number of podcasters whose podcasts are free of charge and available on popular platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or something like this. And we, as a medium with paywall, we need to do our best in keeping high quality level just to earn audience time. So as a radio, we have a fantastic team. We have journalists, editors, who are the core of our podcasting team, but we also invite some partners to doing interesting, inspiring, or important audio projects. 5 years ago, when we were starting publishing podcasts, there were 6 series. 3 of them are still streaming. Why only 3? Well, every new podcast is kind of experiment or a bet. Sometimes something which appears interesting for us isn't interesting for our audience. By the way, there were many series that ended after few episodes or few months. In this case, we always analyze what went wrong. Is it the subject not interesting, or maybe the format was too complicated, or maybe the promotion was too small or improperly conducted? These answers are very important when we decide to do next projects. So today we have 11 regular podcast series, as well as episodic reporting series, or documentary series, or interview series. 2 years ago, we presented our first documentary podcast series. It was a story about the foster care in Poland and the children who got into it, about the bad law, about the official weaknesses, and the story of specific children and families who were trapped in this malfunctioning system. And it's maybe difficult, it could be boring, it was an experiment. And it happened that there were thousands of people who wanted to listen to it. And many of them reached us and shared us their own experiences. We also managed to reach politicians, and some of this bad law were changed. We also know about, at least, we know that this series changed some people's lives. We know about 2 children who found families thanks to this project. And after these 2 years, we know that there's a huge amount of people who still want to listen to it and discuss it, even though it is a paid content. So we have completed 12 such series, documentary or reporting series. 4 of them were awarded with Journalist Prize. Some were nominated, but it is not easy to produce things like this, and it is quite also expensive, but we treat it as an investment. We hope, and in fact it is like this, that people stay with us to listen till the end, or are back when we present something new for them. And usually the first episode is free in this kind of project, so people can listen to it and see if it's something for them. And next one are available for subscribers only. We also publish some samples in social media or YouTube, for example. So this is one way. I see that the time is up. So quickly about the second way of monetization. So this commercial project, which we call special projects, it's nothing groundbreaking. You know it from other media. There is content, and in the beginning of the episode is the information about the sponsorship. Usually the sponsor is connected with the subject of this specific content. The success is connected to the wisdom of commercial partner, because our role is sometimes to tell them that no one would like to hear podcast about this specific client, maybe some client and his CEO. So these are sometimes difficult projects, but there is one which I'm particularly proud of. It was a podcast called I Have a Question. For a year, once a week, our team of economic journalists presented one question about economy connected to what was happening in that time, and were looking for expert to find the answer. And we managed to find a commercial partner, audits and tax advisors. It was a win-win situation. It was very good content, and every side of this project were happy. Another example is the podcast called Good Job. 5 years ago, a journalist came up with an idea for a podcast about job from employees' perspective, and we found a sponsor, a website with job offers, who stays with us and with this project for 5 years consecutively. So I think that it is quite a work, and we know there is much more to do and much to discover. And as we achieve this goal of 30,000 of subscribers by the end of 2022, we have a new one, which is much more ambitious, and I hope we're going to achieve it too. Thank you very much.